For my 30th birthday, my family kept saying, "Just wait until you see what we planned." My boyfriend grinned every time I asked. "It's going to be unforgettable," he promised. The morning of, I woke up to silence. No texts. No calls. By noon, I saw their Instagram stories, my family, my boyfriend, my friends, all singing karaoke at a bar. The caption read, "Best party ever. Glad she didn't come lol." I didn't reply. I didn't show up. 2 days later, my phone lit up with 63 missed calls and a message that made me laugh out loud. "Don't answer," I told myself, watching my phone vibrate across the kitchen counter for the 27th time that morning. The name Tyler flashed on the screen, accompanied by the photo I'd taken of him last summer at Lake Tahoe, his brown eyes squinting in the sunlight, that dimpled smile I once found irresistible. Now the sight of it made my stomach turn. I took another sip of coffee and scrolled through my email instead, pretending I couldn't hear the desperate buzzing. The morning light filtered through my apartment windows, catching the dust particles floating in the air. Outside, Chicago was already awake and moving, the L train rumbling past every few minutes, car horns blaring in the distance. Normal sounds on a normal day that somehow felt anything but normal. 2 days earlier had been my 30th birthday. The big 30. The milestone everyone makes such a fuss about. For weeks, my family and friends had been dropping hints about some spectacular surprise they'd planned. "Just wait until you see what we've got in store," my mother had said during our weekly phone call, her voice lilting with excitement. "It's going to be the celebration of the decade." My sister Vanessa had texted cryptic messages like, "Bought something special for the big day. You're going to die when you see it." Even my normally straightforward father had been uncharacteristically secretive, chuckling and changing the subject whenever I tried to fish for details. And Tyler, my boyfriend of 3 years, he'd been the worst of them all. "Babe, trust me," he'd said just last week as we lay in bed, his fingers tracing circles on my bare shoulder. "It's going to be unforgettable. I've been planning this for months." I'd believed him. Why wouldn't I? We'd talked about marriage. We'd browsed houses online together. We'd even picked out potential names for our future children. Madison for a girl. Ethan for a boy. So when my birthday morning arrived and I woke up alone, Tyler had said he needed to finalize some details and would pick me up later. I wasn't concerned. I lounged in bed scrolling through the birthday messages that had come in overnight, waiting for the flood of calls I expected to receive as the day progressed. Except the flood never came. By 10, I'd received only a generic happy birthday text from a dental hygienist I hadn't seen in 8 months. By 11, I started checking my phone settings to make sure I had service. By noon, the knot in my stomach had twisted so tight I could barely breathe. That's when I saw it, Vanessa's Instagram post. My finger hovered over the notification, indicating she'd shared something new. I tapped, and my world collapsed. There they were. All of them. My mother, elegant in the black cocktail dress I'd helped her pick out for her anniversary. My father, his arms slung around her shoulders, holding a beer. Vanessa and her husband Drew, their heads thrown back in laughter. My best friends from college, Amber and Zoe, whom I hadn't seen in months because they were supposedly too busy to visit. My cousins, my uncle, even my goddamn grandmother who claimed she couldn't travel anymore because of her hip. And in the center of it all, Tyler, microphone in hand, singing what appeared to be a very passionate rendition of Don't Stop Believin'. The location tag read Melody's Bar and Karaoke, downtown Chicago, 15 minutes from my apartment. I swiped to see more photos. The last one showed them clinking champagne glasses, party hats askew, confetti littering the tables. The caption burned itself into my retinas, "Best party ever. Glad she didn't come lol." The phone slipped from my fingers and clattered onto the hardwood floor. I didn't even check if the screen had cracked. I just sat there, perfectly still, as if moving might somehow make this nightmare more real. I'd always prided myself on being level-headed, the rational one in any crisis. During college, when Amber had her heart broken by that baseball player, I was the one who talked her down from cutting her own hair at the VAM. When Vanessa's first wedding was called off 2 weeks before the date, I handled everything: the cancellations, the returned gifts, the devastated parents. Even at work, I was known for staying calm when deadlines loomed and clients changed requirements at the last minute. But in this moment, rationality abandoned me. My mind raced with memories, reinterpreting every interaction I'd had with these people through a new, darker lens. My mother, who had always seemed to favor Vanessa slightly, buying her the better Christmas presents, calling her more often, bragging about her accomplishments to extended family while mentioning mine as an afterthought. My father, who'd missed my college graduation because of a work emergency but somehow made it to every single one of Vanessa's dance recitals growing up. Amber and Zoe, who'd grown increasingly distant over the past year, canceling plans at the last minute, taking longer to respond to texts. And Tyler. God, Tyler. The man I'd planned to spend my life with. Had there been signs I'd missed? The late nights at the office. The weekends when he was just hanging with the guys. The way he'd sometimes look at his phone and smile secretively. I'd attributed it all to normal relationship evolution, to busy schedules and adult responsibilities. But what if it had been something more sinister? What if, all this time, I'd been the only one fully invested? I felt physically ill, a cold sweat breaking out across my forehead, my stomach churning with betrayal and humiliation. 30 years old, and I was only now discovering that perhaps I didn't really know any of these people at all. Was this some kind of joke? A prank that would end with them bursting through my door yelling surprise? And explaining that this was all part of an elaborate ruse? I waited. No one came. I picked up my phone again, fingers trembling, and called Tyler. Straight to voicemail. I tried my mother. Same result. Vanessa? Nothing. It was as if they'd all collectively decided I'd ceased to exist. Finally, I called Amber, who had always been the weakest link in any secret-keeping chain. She answered on the fourth ring, her voice slurred and loud music pulsing in the background. "Hey, birthday girl," she shouted, clearly drunk. "Aren't you supposed to be, like, in Aruba or something?" "What?" I asked, confused. "Amber, what are you talking about? Where are you?" "Oh shit," she mumbled, and then there was rustling, as if she'd covered the receiver with her hand. I could hear muffled voices, then what sounded like someone taking the phone from her. The call ended abruptly. Aruba? I wasn't supposed to be in Aruba. Nobody had mentioned Aruba. What the hell was going on? I spent the rest of my birthday alone, alternating between rage, confusion, and a soul-crushing sadness that made it hard to breathe. I ordered takeout from the Thai place down the street but couldn't eat more than a few bites. I opened a bottle of wine but couldn't stomach it. I tried watching a movie but couldn't focus on the plot. By midnight, as my birthday officially ended, I'd made exactly one decision: I wouldn't contact any of them again. If they wanted to explain themselves, they could come to me. The next day passed in a blur. I called in sick to work, something I rarely did. Janet, my boss at the architecture firm where I'd worked for the past 6 years, didn't question it. She just told me to feel better and that they'd manage without me. I wondered if she was in on it too. I spent the day in pajamas, mindlessly binge-watching shows I'd already seen, ignoring the occasional ping of social media notifications. I didn't check any of my accounts. I couldn't bear to see more evidence of the celebration I'd somehow been excluded from. Which brings us to today. 2 days after my birthday. 2 days of silence from everyone I thought cared about me. And suddenly, a barrage of calls and texts starting at 6 a.m. The most recent text, the one that had just come through from Tyler, read, "Rebecca, please answer your phone. This is all a horrible misunderstanding. We need to talk. We're all worried sick about you." I laughed out loud, a sharp, bitter sound that bounced off the walls of my empty apartment. A misunderstanding? What kind of misunderstanding led to your entire social circle partying without you on your milestone birthday and publicly mocking your absence? As I stared at the message, another one came through, this time from Vanessa. "Becca, Mom's having a panic attack. Call me ASAP. This isn't funny anymore." Funny? They thought I was the one playing some kind of joke? I placed my phone face down on the counter and walked to the window. The city stretched out before me, people going about their days, oblivious to my personal drama. Cars honking. Pedestrians rushing. Life continuing as if nothing had happened. But something had happened. And I wasn't going to just forgive and forget. That wasn't who I was anymore. 30-year-old Rebecca Anderson wasn't going to roll over and accept being treated like this. Not by anyone. I turned back to my phone, picked it up, and finally, after hours of ignoring them, responded to Tyler with a single message: "I know everything. Don't contact me again." Then I blocked his number. And my mother's. And Vanessa's. And every single person who had been at that karaoke bar. The sense of power that flowed through me was intoxicating. But it wasn't enough. They had humiliated me. They had excluded me from my own birthday celebration, and then laughed about it online for everyone to see. A simple disappearing act wouldn't suffice. No, I needed something better. Something that would make them understand exactly how it felt to be betrayed by those you trust most. I opened my laptop and began to plan. The first step was information gathering. Despite blocking their numbers, I hadn't blocked them on social media yet. I needed to see what they were saying. I started looking through everyone's public posts to see what was happening. What I discovered was even more bizarre than I'd imagined. According to public posts and comments, they all genuinely believed I was on a surprise birthday trip to Aruba, a trip apparently organized by Tyler as the ultimate 30th birthday gift. There were confused comments about why I wasn't posting vacation photos and speculation about whether I was too busy enjoying paradise to check in. Tyler had posted just this morning, "If anyone hears from Rebecca, please let me know immediately. I'm getting really worried." I also found some older posts that gave me clues. In one public thread from a few weeks ago, I saw Tyler mention to my friend Zoe that he was planning something special for my birthday. The pieces were starting to come together, but they formed a picture that made no sense. Tyler had apparently planned a surprise trip to Aruba for my birthday. My friends and family had gathered at the karaoke bar as a decoy celebration. But I had never been told about any trip. I had never been taken to any airport. Unless... A memory surfaced, Tyler's voice, soft in my ear as I drifted off to sleep 2 nights before my birthday. "Don't forget we'll need your new swimsuit. The black one with the cutouts. And make sure your passport is in your bedside drawer, I'll grab it in the morning." I'd been half asleep, mumbling sure, assuming he was talking about a future weekend at his parents' lake house. Had I completely missed his actual meaning? I hadn't even registered the passport comment at all. And then another memory, Tyler's text on the morning of my birthday, the one I'd barely glanced at because I was expecting him to call or come over. I scrolled through our message history and found it. "Ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Cars downstairs whenever you're ready, sleepyhead." I'd read it at 7:15 a.m., rolled over and gone back to sleep, assuming he'd call when it was actually time to pick me up for whatever birthday surprise awaited. But what if the surprise had been a 7 a.m. flight? What if he'd been waiting downstairs while I slept? My anger began to waver, uncertainty creeping in. Had this all been a colossal misunderstanding? But then I remembered the Instagram caption, "Best party ever. Glad she didn't come lol." There was no misunderstanding that could explain away those words. I kept scrolling through their recent posts and found a video from the karaoke night. In it, Tyler was speaking to the crowd, his expression surprisingly solemn for someone at a party. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," he said, his voice slightly slurred. "I know we all wish Rebecca could be here, but she's hopefully enjoying her birthday on a beautiful beach instead of watching me butcher Journey songs." Everyone laughed, and he continued, "When she gets back, we'll have an even bigger celebration. In the meantime, let's have fun in her honor. To Rebecca." They all raised their glasses, chorusing "To Rebecca." The video ended there, but a comment from my cousin Megan caught my eye. This was right before Tyler got the call that she hadn't checked in, right? Poor guy looked like he'd seen a ghost. I closed my laptop and leaned back in my chair, mind racing. If what I was seeing was true, then Tyler had planned a surprise trip. When I didn't show up, they went ahead with the karaoke night as planned, assuming I was already in Aruba. The mocking caption must have been added by someone who didn't know the full story, probably Vanessa's husband Drew, who had always harbored some inexplicable resentment toward me. But even if there had been a misunderstanding about the trip, why hadn't anyone called to check on me when I didn't show up at the airport? Why had they all gone radio silent on my actual birthday? I picked up my phone again and unblocked Tyler's number. Within seconds, it rang. His name flashing on the screen made my heart race, but not in the way it once had. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Rebecca? Oh my God, Rebecca, are you okay?" His voice was ragged, as if he hadn't slept. "I'm fine," I replied coolly. "Why wouldn't I be? Why wouldn't you? Becca, you disappeared. You never showed up for the flight. You haven't answered anyone's calls for days. We've been losing our minds with worry." "What flight, Tyler? No one told me about any flight." There was a pause, then, the flight to Aruba. For your birthday surprise. I texted you that morning. The car was waiting. You texted cars downstairs whenever you're ready. That's it. No mention of Aruba, no mention of a flight. What was I supposed to think? But we talked about it. The night before, I reminded you to pack your swimsuit. You mentioned a swimsuit while I was half asleep. Again, no mention of Aruba. The line went silent for several seconds. Tyler, I continued, my voice hardening, even if there was some misunderstanding about a trip, explain to me why nobody called or texted on my actual birthday. Explain to me why, instead, I saw all of you partying on Instagram with a caption about how glad you were that I didn't come. What? What caption? Becca, after you didn't show up for the flight, I was a wreck. I spent hours calling the airport, the resort, even the police. When I couldn't get answers, I came to your apartment, but you weren't there. Or you weren't answering. I thought maybe you'd gone somewhere else, that maybe you'd misunderstood and were waiting for me at another location. So you decided the best course of action was to go sing karaoke? He sighed heavily. Everyone was already gathered for the pre-trip celebration we'd planned. When you didn't show up for the flight, they all insisted I still join them, said it would take my mind off worrying for a few hours. I didn't want to go, Becca. I was sick with worry. But they dragged me there, and yes, I had a few drinks trying to calm my nerves. I don't even remember singing. What caption are you talking about? I told him about what I'd seen on Instagram. That wasn't me, he stammered. Drew posted those photos from Vanessa's account while she was in the bathroom. It was a stupid joke. He thought you'd chosen not to come to karaoke because you were already enjoying your vacation. He didn't know you weren't in Aruba. Vanessa deleted the post as soon as she saw it yesterday morning, but I guess you'd already seen it by then. It sounded plausible. Drew had exactly that kind of oblivious, occasionally mean-spirited sense of humor. But something still didn't add up. Why didn't anyone call me on my birthday? Not one person except a dental hygienist wished me happy birthday. Not you, not my mother, not Vanessa. Nobody. Another pause, longer this time. We were all under strict instructions not to contact you until you landed, Tyler finally said, his voice small. The resort was supposed to have a special welcome planned, with a video message from all of us. We thought you were in the air for most of the day. By the time we realized something was wrong, it was evening. I tried calling then, but it went straight to voicemail. I remembered having my phone on silent for much of that day and being so hurt and angry that I barely checked it, especially after seeing the Instagram post. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You planned a surprise trip to Aruba without explicitly telling me about it. You sent a vague text the morning of, expecting me to understand that meant I was supposed to get on a plane. When I didn't show up, no one bothered to check on me until the evening. And then you all went partying anyway. It wasn't like that, Becca. The trip was supposed to be a surprise, yes, but I thought I dropped enough hints. I cleared it with your boss. I mentioned your passport and swimsuit that night. The morning text was supposed to be followed by me coming up to get you when you didn't come down, but there was an accident on Lakeshore Drive, and I was stuck in traffic. By the time I got to your building, it was too late to make the flight. I tried calling, but you didn't answer. I vaguely remembered seeing his name flash on my screen around 7:30 a.m., but had silenced the call, still half asleep and assuming whoever it was would call back at a reasonable hour. As for the party, he continued, it wasn't a party. It was a group of people trying to console each other and figure out where you might be. The singing happened late in the night after a lot of drinks and stress. It wasn't a celebration, Becca. It was the opposite. His explanation made a twisted kind of sense, but I wasn't ready to let go of my anger. It had been sustaining me for 2 days, giving me purpose when I felt most abandoned. I need some time to think, I said finally. Of course, Tyler replied quickly. Take all the time you need. Please don't shut me out again. I was so scared, Becca. I thought something terrible had happened to you. The raw emotion in his voice made my throat tighten. Despite everything, part of me still loved this man. But another part, a harder, more cynical part that had been born on my 30th birthday, wasn't ready to forgive. I'll call you tomorrow, I said, and hung up before he could respond. I sat in silence for a long moment, processing our conversation. Then I picked up my phone again and blocked my mother's number. She answered on the first ring, her voice thick with tears. Rebecca? Baby, is that you? It's me, Mom. Oh, thank God. We've been so worried. Are you all right? Where are you? I'm at home. I've been at home the whole time. But Tyler said. The trip to Aruba. We thought. There was a misunderstanding, I said, keeping my voice neutral. I never knew about any trip. She gasped. But he said he told you. He said it was all arranged. Well, he didn't. And I'd like to know why no one called me on my actual birthday. Oh, honey, she sighed. Tyler made us all promise not to call until evening. He said you'd be in the air most of the day, and he wanted the resort's welcome to be your first birthday greeting. We were following his instructions because we thought it would make the surprise more special. Again, it made sense. But it didn't erase the hurt. I saw the Instagram stories, Mom. Everyone seemed to be having a great time without me. Rebecca Jean Anderson, you know better than to believe everything you see on social media. That karaoke session happened after hours of panic when we couldn't locate you. Your father was on the phone with the police. I was calling hospitals. Tyler was a mess. Vanessa suggested we all stay together at the bar while we figured out what to do, and yes, eventually some people started singing to break the tension. It wasn't a party. It was a vigil. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the caption kept flashing in my mind, best party ever. Glad she didn't come lol. Mom, I need to go. I'll call you tomorrow. Rebecca, please. I ended the call and immediately unblocked Vanessa's number. I had one more person to talk to before I decided what to believe. Vanessa picked up immediately, launching into a tirade before I could even speak. Where the hell have you been? Do you have any idea what you've put us through? Mom's been having panic attacks. Dad called the police because he was worried something had happened to you. Tyler hasn't slept in 2 days. I had to take a personal day from work because I've been so stressed. What the actual fuck, Rebecca? Her anger was so genuine, so characteristic of my high-strung sister, that I almost laughed despite everything. I've been at home, I said simply. What do you mean you've been at home? This whole time? Why haven't you answered your phone? Because I saw all of you partying without me on my birthday and decided I didn't want to talk to any of you ever again. Partying? What are you? Oh my God, you mean the karaoke thing? Becca, that wasn't a party. That was us trying not to completely lose our minds with worry. Sure looked like a party from the stories you posted. She groaned. Those were posted from my account, but Drew was the one who put them up. He thought it was funny to pretend everything was normal because he assumed you were just enjoying your vacation and ignoring social media. He didn't know we couldn't find you. And the caption? Best party ever. Glad she didn't come lol? Drew is an idiot, Vanessa said flatly. He thought you'd see it when you got back from Aruba and laugh about how we'd kept the karaoke night going even without you. He didn't understand the situation at all. I deleted those stories as soon as I saw them, but I guess it was too late. I closed my eyes, letting her words sink in. It was all starting to align, Tyler's explanation, my mother's distress, Vanessa's indignation. They were all telling essentially the same story. A story about a surprise gone horribly wrong, not a deliberate exclusion. So it was all just a misunderstanding? I asked, my voice small. The biggest fucking misunderstanding ever, Vanessa confirmed. Tyler planned this amazing surprise for you, first-class tickets to Aruba, a beachfront suite for a week, even arranged for time off with your boss. When you didn't show up at the airport, he was devastated. We all were. And then when we couldn't reach you, couldn't find you. Becca, we thought something terrible had happened. Why didn't anyone come to my apartment that day? Tyler did? He said he knocked for almost an hour, but you didn't answer. I remember taking a long shower that morning, then going for a walk to clear my head. I could have easily missed him. I need some time to process all this, I said finally. Of course you do, Vanessa replied, her voice softening. It's a lot. But Becca, we love you. All of us. This was supposed to be a wonderful surprise, not whatever nightmare it turned into. After ending the call with Vanessa, I sat motionless, staring at the wall. The anger that had propelled me for the past 2 days was dissipating, leaving behind a hollow sensation in my chest. Had I really jumped to the worst conclusion? Had I really believed that everyone I loved would deliberately exclude me from my own birthday? But the evidence had seemed so clear. The silent phone. The Instagram stories. The damning caption. I opened Instagram and navigated to Vanessa's profile. As she'd said, the stories were gone, they'd expired or been deleted. In their place was a new post from just an hour ago, a throwback photo of the two of us as children, grinning with gap-toothed smiles, arms around each other's shoulders. The caption read, "Found my sister. Thank God. Hashtag never redditaita again. Hashtag love you Becca." The comments section was flooded with relieved messages from friends and family. "So glad she's okay. Give her a hug from me. From my Aunt Marlene. Tell her I'm sorry about the stories. Bad joke? Really bad timing," from Drew. At least he recognized his error. "Let her know we're all here whenever she's ready to talk," from Amber. And from Tyler, simply, heart emoji. I closed the app and leaned back, letting out a long breath. The narrative was shifting, reforming into something different from what I believed. Not a story of betrayal, but one of miscommunication, bad timing, and unfortunate coincidences. But what about my plan? The revenge I'd been meticulously crafting for the past 2 days? It seemed ridiculous now, petty and unnecessary in light of what I'd learned. I walked to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water, my mind still reeling from the conversations I'd just had. For 2 days, I'd been constructing an elaborate scheme, one that would have shown them all exactly how it felt to be excluded and forgotten. My plan had been simple yet devastating in its potential impact. I'd already drafted resignation emails to my boss, explaining that I was moving across the country for a fresh start. I'd researched apartments in Seattle, a city I'd always been drawn to but never visited. I'd even contacted a realtor about listing my Chicago condo. The most vindictive part? I was going to disappear without a word, just as I believed they had done to me. Let them wonder. Let them worry. Let them feel the gnawing uncertainty I'd felt when I saw those Instagram stories. I'd even written letters, one to Tyler, one to my parents, one to Vanessa, explaining exactly why I was leaving, detailing every hurt, every slight I'd perceived over the years, culminating in what I'd seen as the ultimate betrayal, my 30th birthday celebration without the birthday girl. The letters were sitting in my desk drawer, sealed and stamped, ready to be mailed from Seattle once I was settled. And the final touch, I was going to send them all invitations to a farewell party at an upscale restaurant downtown, only to never show up. Let them sit there waiting, checking their watches, calling my phone that would never answer. Let them experience exactly what I had. Standing in my kitchen now, the glass of water cool against my palm, I felt a wave of shame wash over me. How close had I come to destroying everything over a misunderstanding? How ready had I been to burn bridges that had taken years, decades even, to build? I walked to my desk and pulled out the letters. The handwriting on the envelopes looked foreign now, as if written by someone else, someone consumed by hurt and anger, someone I didn't recognize. With trembling hands, I tore them into tiny pieces and dropped them into the trash. The resignation email draft still sat open on my laptop. I deleted it with a single keystroke. I pulled up the Seattle apartment listings I'd bookmarked and closed them one by one. Then I found myself staring at a document titled New Life Plan, a detailed roadmap for starting over without any of them in my life. Reading through it now, I was struck by how cold and calculating it seemed, how unlike the person I'd always believed myself to be. Was this who I became when hurt? Someone capable of such deliberate cruelty? Or perhaps this was just the darker side we all possess, the part of us that rises to the surface when we feel betrayed by those we love most. The part that lashes out, that seeks to wound as we've been wounded. I closed the document without saving changes and shut my laptop. Outside my window, the Chicago skyline glittered in the early evening light, familiar, beautiful, home. I hadn't realized until this moment how close I'd come to leaving it all behind based on assumptions and misread signals. The thought was sobering. A reminder of how fragile our connections can be, how easily misunderstandings can spiral into irreparable damage if we let them. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. "I know you need space, and I respect that. But when you're ready, I have your birthday gift waiting. The Aruba trip is rescheduled for whenever you want it. I love you, Becca. More than anything." Attached was a photo of a small blue box, the kind that typically holds jewelry. The kind that typically holds rings. My breath caught in my throat. Another text followed. "This isn't how I planned to do this. But the last 2 days made me realize I never want to feel that kind of fear again, the fear of losing you. So whenever you're ready to talk, I'll be here. With this." Tears sprang to my eyes, blurring the screen. The anger that had been sustaining me evaporated completely, replaced by a dawning horror at what I'd almost thrown away based on assumptions and misunderstandings. I texted back immediately, "Come over. Now." 20 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Tyler standing there, looking haggard, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wearing wrinkled clothes that looked like he'd slept in them. But he was smiling, that same smile I'd fallen in love with 3 years ago. "Hi," he said simply. "Hi," I replied, stepping aside to let him in. He entered cautiously, as if unsure of his welcome despite my invitation. Once inside, he turned to face me, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Becca, I'm so sorry. This was all my fault. I should have been clearer about the trip. I shouldn't have relied on hints and vague texts. I was so focused on keeping it a surprise that I didn't make sure you actually knew you needed to be ready for a flight. It's not all your fault," I admitted. "I should have answered your calls. I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions based on social media." He reached for my hand, and I let him take it, feeling the familiar warmth of his touch. "Can we start over?" he asked. "Pretend the last few days never happened?" I shook my head. "No. We can't pretend it didn't happen. But we can learn from it. Better communication. Less reliance on assumptions." He nodded, squeezing my hand. "I can do that." Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out the blue box I'd seen in his text. My heart raced as he dropped to one knee, looking up at me with those warm brown eyes. "Rebecca Anderson, this isn't how I planned to do this." I had a whole speech prepared to deliver on a beach at sunset. But the last 2 days have taught me that plans don't always work out the way we expect. What matters is that we face whatever comes together. He opened the box, revealing a stunning sapphire ring surrounded by small diamonds set in white gold, exactly the style I'd once pointed out in a magazine. "I love you, Becca. Through misunderstandings and miscommunications, through good times and bad. Will you marry me?" The tears I'd been holding back spilled over. Despite everything, the hurt, the confusion, the misplaced anger of the past few days, I knew my answer instantly. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, I will." He slipped the ring onto my finger, then stood and pulled me into an embrace so tight it almost hurt. I could feel him trembling slightly, or maybe I was the one shaking. It didn't matter. We were together, holding each other, finding our way back from the brink of a disaster born of misunderstanding. Later that evening, as we lay on the couch, his arm around me, my head on his chest, my phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. "So, do we get to have a real celebration now? One where the guest of honor actually shows up?" I showed it to Tyler, and he laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest and into mine. "What do you think?" he asked. "Ready to face everyone?" I considered it for a moment. The embarrassment of my overreaction. The awkwardness of explaining why I'd gone dark for 2 days. The inevitable teasing from Drew about the infamous Instagram caption. But then I thought about the alternative, holding on to hurt and anger, missing out on celebrations and love because of pride or fear. "Yes," I decided. "I'm ready. But this time, no surprises. Just tell me when and where to be." "Deal," Tyler agreed, pressing a kiss to the top of my head. I glanced down at the ring sparkling on my finger, then at the man beside me, and finally at my phone, where messages of relief and love continued to pour in from family and friends. For my 30th birthday, I'd received no presents, no cake, no celebration. Instead, I'd gotten something far more valuable, a lesson in communication, in giving people the benefit of the doubt, in not letting hurt and anger drive my decisions. And now, a few days late but no less meaningful, I'd received the greatest gift of all, a promise of a future with someone who loved me enough to reschedule paradise. My actual 30th birthday may have been unforgettable for all the wrong reasons, but the story of it, the misunderstandings, the fear, the reconciliation, would someday make a hell of an engagement story. I picked up my phone and typed out a response to Vanessa, "Absolutely. But this time, I'm planning it. And everyone's definitely invited." I added a ring emoji at the end and hit send, smiling as I imagined her reaction when she saw it. The celebration might be delayed, but it would be all the sweeter for the journey we'd taken to get there. And as for those 63 missed calls that had accumulated on my phone over those 2 days, I was suddenly very glad I'd finally answered.